Good afternoon, and welcome to Titan Talk. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us today. Today, you have myself, the fantastic Captain Coop, and of course, as always going forward nowadays, I have the fantastic Captain Roberts.
If you're sick of seeing me on camera, just know I'm sick of seeing me on camera too.
So today, we had something else planned. Unfortunately, I couldn't get things moved around in the right way, so we decided to take a second look, and we were sitting here thinking to ourselves, we've done a lot of introductions, and we've done a lot of kind of what are you looking for with patrol or as officers, you know, what are the key things? So we were sitting here thinking, we're like, what's a good thing? Well, we haven't given a kind of a bird's eye view or a look behind the curtain on a scheduler. So we decided an introduction to us, what we deal with and what we look for and how to deal with the last minute stuff from officers, from clients.
The never-ending chess game that we play in our heads.
And so we wanted to give you guys a little bit of an intro to that. So we thank you for joining us on our little trip. And for those of you who are officers, we thank you for the entertainment of keeping our brains active, because it's always, there's never a dull day. So thank you.
Unfortunately not. I would love a dull day. That'd be great.
So we appreciate it. And what we're going to, I'm kind of going to start this off. And when I look at, when I'm thinking about scheduling and everything that way, when it comes to every day, one of the things that I look for, we'll start with like our NEOs. One of the things that we take into account when we're looking for long-term posts and positions, besides pay rate, we look at experience, something that I take into account or try to the best that we can, because there's, we always get this drive time, you know, and I do everything I can, and so does Captain Roberts, Captain Voss, and Bassett. We all do everything we can to keep everybody close to home, but not like in your backyard.
No, not so much for me.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah. When you sign up for QRT, one of the first things we say is, hey, one of the biggest downsides of us is I got to be able to send you anywhere in the metro area. I understand it's a long drive. I trust me, I do. I did it for 2 years.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm sorry, but you got to be there.
Yeah. And when I started, I was living in Lawrence. I started, and we had a site out there. And then we left that site. I went to Spring Hill, and I was like, it's not so bad. Got promoted to patrol. 45 minutes one way. And I was like, okay, hold on. Wait a minute. I think I made a mistake here. It's too far.
I mean,
it wasn't too bad.
Lieutenant who was driving
an hour and a half.
Hour and a half.
Yeah. One way. Dedication right there.
He was there constantly. So it was practically every day.
Absolutely. So we do what we can to take stuff like that in when it comes to distance and things, but you have to remember as well that we have a limited number of posts that we can work, and if someone's doing really well, even though that post may be closer to your house, it's not fair to somebody else to remove them because it's closer for you. We wouldn't do that to you, and we would hope you would not expect us to do it to somebody else. But we do what we can, most of us, aside from one, do what we can to keep you relatively close to home. At the same time, and why we don't want to put you at a post that's 5 minutes from the house. I don't like doing it. We will from time to time. I don't like doing it because I don't want you seeing your neighbors. Most of the time you shop within 5 to 6 minutes of your house. And the last thing I want to do is have you
put you in a scenario where you're looking at your neighbor and your neighbor seems to pocket something, and now you're put in this conundrum where oh, but you know, I've got the potluck next week, and I can't really.
Yeah, and so to avoid any odd scenarios or awkward silences when you get home, we don't keep you within a certain neighborhood. And we're trying to make life easier, because that can get complicated real quick. We've had it happen. It's happened to me. Unfortunately, I was covering down at a post. It was really close to my house, and as a supervisor, one of my neighbors decided to come in, and he saw me, and he's like, hey, I know you. And I'm like, yeah. And we chatted for a couple of minutes, and he tried to push out a $300 basket of groceries. And I was like, hey, that's not going to happen. And he decided to run, push the cart back in. Everybody got there, it was all fine. I got home, and he was standing there, and he's like, we got to talk. And I'm like, this isn't going to go well, so you need to go back to your place. I'm going to go home and go to sleep. And it's just, I don't want... It's not a pleasant time to come home to someone standing there going, no, we have a problem. And it's like, no, you have a problem.
When work comes home with you, or you come home to work, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Something's horribly wrong.
And so we try to take that into consideration when we're placing you guys in schedules. It gets a little bit more relaxed on that, I'd say, if you get promoted, or if we've got if we're calling to say, hey, you've been doing really well. You've been doing fantastic at this site and this site and this site that you've worked. We've gotten some great compliments, and I've got a site that maybe pays a little bit more. It's got a little bit better schedule. I'd like to offer it to you. That might change that a little bit, because now I'm no longer worried about a distance, because I'm saying, hey, I'm getting ready to give you more money, a better schedule and stuff like that. And so I worry a little less about that because of it. But I do understand that sometimes that plays a huge role. We have single parents that work for us.
Yep.
We take that into account when it comes to that stuff. We all understand that we've got a life outside of work, and some of us more than others. Case in point, family, no family. And so there are stipulations like that that we take into account, and we do the best we can with, but at the same time, there's a real conversation there of, hey, I can make these adjustments, but there's going to have to be some adjustments on your side as well, at least a little bit, kind of like negotiating back and forth.
Yeah, if I'm going to bend a little bit for you, you got to bend a little bit for me.
Exactly.
We got to make this work.
Brian says Captain Dread Pirate Roberts.
Arr.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was he who should not be named who said it first.
Who was that again?
Brian, I almost gave you credit for somebody else's.
He who shall not be named?
He's one of yours.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah. When I was on vacation a couple weeks ago, I think I've already told the story, but I was on vacation a couple weeks ago.
You might have just told it to us.
It's possible. My wife, I was steering a boat. My wife called me Captain Roberts, and I went, "Oh." I was like, I'm a pirate. This is gonna be weird.
I'm trying not to go off on a tangent, but that makes me think of. You ever seen the movie The Martian? The new one with.
Yeah.
My favorite part about that is he's stuck up there, and they're talking about how he's going to have to commandeer a ship and how it's technically in international waters. And he goes, "Space pirate. I'm a space pirate."
No, I think I remember that clip. Yeah.
It's pretty funny. But so we take that stuff into account, and we do what we can to work around that the best we can. We all understand that we have lives outside of this. We've got personal responsibilities, whether it be kids or school functions or school. You're in school yourself. It could be any number of things, and we do what we can to take that stuff into account to get you guys the best possible schedule. And again, if you're on a schedule and it doesn't work, best thing to do, communicate. Tell us what's going on and let us know, and we'll work with you the best we can. But those are the simple things, and then we gotta get into the more difficult, where we will get a call from a client, and some of my guys recently have experienced this more often than others. A couple of them come to mind, and if they watch this and you know who I'm talking about, I appreciate you guys, because I'm pretty sure I call you more than I call most.
I know exactly who you're talking about, and yes, they absolutely deserve some recognition.
Yeah.
Whether you can't be named, but
yeah, and it's one of those things. It's the clients will sometimes reach out and say, "Hey, I have this last minute thing that needs to get done for the next 4 days," and I'm like, "Okay, that's going to be at a higher rate because it's emergency, and we will work on it." And these two people in particular, I'm not going to name them because it's just I'm not going to. If you two wind up watching this, I hope you know I'm talking about you. If you don't, I will, and he will, and sorry. But it's one of those, the clients will drop that stuff on us last minute, and he is known for this, and that's because that's his bread and butter.
That's all I do.
That's everything he does. They will call his major and say, "Hey, we need guard coverage for the next 3 weeks, starting tonight.
Hey, we need a 6-hour event covered tomorrow."
Yeah.
And Major Cavista look at me and he goes, "Make it happen." And I go, "Yep."
Absolutely.
There are days where I'll get like 3 contracts in at once. And if any of my QRTs are watching this, I'm sorry for jerking you guys around so much, but I got shifts to cover, and I got to move people around. It's a chessboard that I'm moving. And the thing that keeps me sane is if I have an open shift and I'm really struggling to get someone for it, absolute worst case scenario, I go out there and work it myself.
Yep. I want to give props to one of your officers, because we had something happen yesterday, and I mean, this is super last minute, completely caught everybody off guard, and me and Captain Roberts here were on the phone for like an hour, trying to work through this and figure out what we were going to do, how to make the pieces on the board move. And he made one phone call, I made one phone call after deliberating how we were going to make this successful. And that's the thing. There's things sometimes when these last minute things drop or these emergency coverage drop. There's a little bit more that go into it. You got to get a hotel, or you got to get gift cards, per diems, whatever, things like that. And so we've got to sit there and deliberate. Hey, how do we make this the most effective use of our time and our officers' time? And how do we get them what they need to be successful? And sometimes that's the worst part, is that prep.
Yep.
Getting together and making sure you've got all your bases covered, everything's ready. And then you're like, okay, we've got everything. Let's make the phone calls. Because the phone calls, like last night, 2 phone calls.
Yeah.
2 phone calls, and everything was covered. And the officer was like, I'm on it. Sure.
I was astonished, and I thought about it for a while, and it really helps knowing your officers, because I only had to make that 1 phone call because I know his home life. I know what's going on. I know he doesn't care. He gets a little vacation out of it. And knowing your officers and knowing their limits is a massive part of what we do.
Mm-hmm. And that's where that communication piece comes in. That's why we try when we talk to you guys, like when we talk to our NEOs downstairs. That's why it's not just basic questions. The first initial questions are, but we start getting a little bit more in depth. When we're talking about what days are you available, what can't you do, what can you do, what are you looking for. We're not asking these because we're looking solely at the schedule. We're trying to get to understand our officers, so that way when something comes up or something better might come up, I know who I'm looking at.
Yep.
I know a little bit about your personal life. I know a little bit about what your expectations are. You know a little bit about my expectations. And so we've got this little bit of a relationship and bond that we can work around and say, hey, this is what it is. And we can get together as a team. And we like to say as a family, and I know that there's a lot of stipulating, people like, oh, that if companies say that, it's not. I really feel like we're a family here. I know a lot of my officers by name. I don't know as many as I used to about home lives and stuff like that, but I used to know a ton about their home lives. It's become a little bit more difficult in recent years with the expansion that we've had, but I'm still trying. And so knowing that stuff helps, because when it comes up, we can advise better and say, hey, this I think would be a better idea for you.
Yeah, absolutely. There are plenty of times where I'll get a new contract and I'll be sitting there and everybody's booked up and I've got only a handful of people to call, and I'll start looking down the names like, no, I can't call him. He's a family man. He's not a chance. I was like, oh, there we go. It's overtime. This guy likes overtime. And this post pays a heck of a lot of money. There's not a chance he passes this up.
Yeah.
It cuts my operation time down, makes me a lot more efficient knowing my officers. And it saves other people from getting calls in the middle of their day for a pointless conversation that didn't need to happen, because I should have already knew that they had something going on a Thursday morning, because they always have something going on Thursday morning. It helps significantly.
Absolutely. And that, like I said, that's where that communication piece comes in, where we're talking about availability and schedules and stuff like that. It's because we're trying to get to know that stuff so we can understand your side of it. I just had an officer recently I was talking to. He's a single parent, and I was talking to him about his child care and everything that way, because I want to know what he's looking for in that, so I know what I can work around and I can make him more successful. So he's got a better chance of he's got the best chance of being around his kid. He's got everything taken care of. And he's successful not only at work, but in his personal life, because that's what I want. I don't want you to just be successful in one. I want you to be successful in both. So
yeah, one of the massive benefits I have about my scheduling is I have temporary contracts, so I have my schedule changes practically daily. I got to move pieces around daily. So when my schedule comes out, I have the ability to just start moving stuff around, and it doesn't matter a whole lot as long as everything's covered and the right people are in the right place. So I'll get a call like I did this morning or yesterday morning from an officer saying, hey, I've got a VA appointment Wednesday. I tried to reschedule it and they won't let me. And I go, that's fine. You want to trade a Friday for it? Yeah. You know what? I'll do that. It's like, great. I'll make it work. I'll ask somebody else like, hey, you typically work a Friday and not a Wednesday. You mind swapping for this week? Yeah, I got that. Whatever you need, man.
And that's another thing too, is getting to know your fellow officers. So if you work with somebody, you work with someone a lot and you see that person over and over again, you get to know them a little bit, because there might be an opportunity for you to reach out to them and say, hey, my kid's got an appointment this day. It's last minute. He's been sick the past couple of days, so we set him up with a doctor's appointment. I'm not going to be able to make it. I'd trade you my Thursday for your Wednesday if you'd be willing to help me out. as an officer, when I was an officer, that was the biggest help I ever had, was being able to have that resource. Was being able to call my fellow officers and say, hey, and in Lawrence, when I first started, that was easy. It was just me and one other guy.
Yeah.
We got each other's phone numbers, and then he would call me and go, hey, I can't make it to this day because of this. And I was like, sure, I got you. You want to take my Saturday so I can go on a date night? Sure, I got you. Swaps the shifts. There you go. Bob's your uncle. And it was, it made things a whole lot easier when you got that, especially if you're at a site with a team.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Get to know your team members, get their numbers. All of my guys, all 37 of them at the moment, all of my guys are in a Discord. And there's a if you know Discord, there's a specific channel for coverage.
Yeah.
And it rarely happens, but when somebody wants a shift covered and it's last minute, I'll say, hey, put it in the Discord. I'll start looking, and a lot of the time they'll get a better response on Discord than me just making cold calls.
Yeah.
And
because that's something else that we take into consideration when we get you guys on here is we know you don't want to hear from us all the time. We don't want, you guys don't want us bugging you every day, and so we try not to, and we say, hey, it'd probably be better coming from you than it would from me, because do you really want to hear from me? I said, the two officers I was talking about earlier, I know for a fact they still answer, but every time I call them, they go, is this for tonight? And I go, no, hold on, it's not. I get it. When you get a call from your boss, it's 2 or 3 times a week trying to make things work and make things better, you don't really want to answer them. And we don't want anybody to get to that point. And so sometimes it's better coming from you as an officer to each other than it is from us.
If for my guys, I know for a fact you're sick of me calling you. Just know I'm sick of making calls. It's a two-way street.
But name of the game,
Name of the game.
Name of the game. That's our entire role, is putting that puzzle together and making it work the best we can, and making sure that everything aligns to the best ability we have.
Yep. If you are, I think the thing that has helped me with scheduling is I spent a good year where I was playing chess, and I got fairly good at chess. And it has helped me think several moves ahead and keep track of pieces. And when I'm scheduling, that has been an incredible asset. So if you are good at chess or good at puzzles, management when it comes to scheduling comes pretty naturally to you.
What's funny is I used to hate puzzles as a kid. Absolutely hated them.
Yeah.
And as I got a little older, probably hit about my mid-20s, I was like, oh, this is, mildly entertaining. Started getting back into chess and everything that way a little bit, and you're not wrong at all. It plays 100% into that. It just makes it easier because you're not thinking, how can I get this one thing covered? How can I get the next 4 things taken care of? How do I make sure that I help this officer and help myself at the same time?
Yep. How do I move a group of pieces together at the same time to make one fluid movement and cut my day in half? Then move this person to this post, this person to this post. How about I just clear their schedule and re-put them at this post, and then I only have 2 shifts to worry about.
Yep. Absolutely. I do want to put out there as well, if you guys have any questions for scheduling, not related to your actual schedules.
You'll get those calls.
That's a call.
You'll call regardless.
But if you guys have any questions for us that you would like us to answer, we're happy to take them and answer them the best we can. But if it's about your schedule, just call the on-duty supervisor phone. If you're one of his QRT members, just call him.
Just call me.
We'll get those answered off air. But when we're talking schedules and we're talking all this stuff, it's just a gigantic puzzle. It's a huge chessboard that we're sitting there moving the pieces around, making sure that everybody's taken care of to the best of our ability, and making sure that everyone and our officers, our clients, and ourselves are all taken care of the best sane way possible.
Yep.
Without asking too much, because we know there are times, even for us, when we've got to work a weekend and we work 7 days, 8 days, and we're on day 9, and we're like, man, this is hard. And we know we ask some of you guys as our officers to do the same, and it's we get it. And we just had this with lieutenants. One was helping another one out and covering a shift because he had something planned, and I was talking to the one who was helping, and he goes, man, I'm just tired. And I was like, I got you. And so we sat down, and I talked to both of them, and we came up with another solution to get some extra days off and move things around. And it worked, and everybody got rest, everybody's happy, and now we're out of that, and everybody's back to normal.
Back to the normal schedule. Things are more fluid. I'm not looking at Lieutenant Williams in the face, and he looks dead tired, and I just sit there and go, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. I can tell it's weighing on you. He had one day off, and he came back, bright smiling face. I was amazed.
Completely different.
I would be still dead. 100%. I was still dead.
Working around those things, it's that's what we do. That's our bread and butter. Lavi's got a fantastic doing scheduling is the SHLU. I came to realize it is an adaptive art and science. Absolutely, I would say there's a science to it.
Yeah.
Painting, sure, art, painting that picture, make sure everything's where it's supposed to be, and everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing. Supervisors, officers, us, and piecing all of that together. Absolutely, there's definitely something to it that you've got to have a different outlook on it. You can't just look at it as a schedule. There's more to it. You've got to be able to piece all of that together.
I was explaining what I did to my wife. And she was like, okay, it seems fairly manageable. And then I threw in the wrench where it's like KCMO armed, KCMO unarmed. And she was like, how do you keep it all in your head? And it was like, a lot of it is just, I'd say a good quarter of it is basic memory. Mm-hmm. The rest of it is just going through the fluid motions, figuring things out slowly. And then eventually one thing will click and the rest of it will just start placing themselves.
Yep. So when I started scheduling, the first thing I used to do, because I had the hardest time with that, with minor memory things and watching the pieces and making sure you have 2 or 3 pieces over here that you keep an eye on while you're working on these pieces over here. I used to write everything down. And I mean, when I say everything, I mean every piece that I was getting ready to move, thinking of moving, was moved, has moved, everything. And I mean, I have notebooks of just information, of scheduling movements, officer information where I was talking to him, trying to get an understanding of what was going on. I'd write it down. And I mean, I've got a stack of notebooks that I wound up shredding just because of all the information that I was making sure and writing down. And I got to the point where I didn't have to do that anymore because I was able to retain it. And now I don't have to. I've still got notebooks, but they're not nearly as many or as full.
Yeah. One of the biggest, as maybe my first, probably towards the end of my first month scheduling, Coop and I just, if you know the property, we went to the lake and walked like 8-9 laps.
Yeah.
And I was just getting feedback from him, throwing ideas off. And one of the best things that I got from him was get some sticky notes.
Oh, dude, sticky notes have been my savior.
They've been there are things that I'll catch. Like I'll put it on a sticky note and I'll put it off to the side. And at the end of the day, I'll look through and I'll go, oh, that starts in an hour.
Sticky notes have been my lifesaver because someone will come to me and I'll be in the middle of scheduling or in the middle of, something else in the middle of my day. And someone will come over and go, hey, I need this task done. Okay, on a little sticky note, and I stick it right there on my laptop because it's right there in front of me. And so everything's done. I'm sitting here at the end of my day, closer to the end of my day, and I'm like, cool, this is done, this is done, this is done. And I look at my desk, and there's that sticky note. I go, ooh, got to do that real quick. And it's the sticky notes has probably been the number one thing. And then you brought it up, you said it best. You get a sense of accomplishment. You get 6 or 7 sticky notes with little notes.
Cross it off, crumple it up,
throw it away. All right, one more thing down. And it's funny, I never thought about it, but I used to think that too. It never really clicked, but I always got that. You can always feel that smile where you crumple up that sticky note. You're like, all right.
There, another set done.
Yeah, and for us, that's a small win that we kind of go with, and fantastic. I never would have made that connection had you not said that.
Yeah, I think it goes along the lines of I think my wife makes a lot of task to-do lists. Mm-hmm. And she crosses them off, and she does a little happy dance when she crosses something big off. So when you said sticky notes and I started crossing things off, it's like, yeah, okay, I finally understand where she's coming from. This is kind of nice.
Did you do a little happy dance?
Yeah, well, I may have the first couple of times, a little happy food dance.
So we're gonna hop into the weather, and then we're gonna let you guys go enjoy your weekend. So what we're looking at for this weekend, we were 83 today with some cloud coverage. Saturday is going to be 80 degrees with more clouds, 78 on Sunday with some showers. Going to get a little rain. Monday is going to be 82 with some isolated thunderstorms. Tuesday's 85, partly cloudy, and then we get into the sunshine in the rest of the week. Wednesday 89, mostly sunny. Thursday's at 90, getting back into those warm temperatures. Friday's 89, Saturday 89, and Sunday is 90 again. So we're getting back into those warmer weathers. So make sure that we're taking care and we're drinking water. Remember, hydration is key. Hydration is the day before or several days before, not the day of. So we appreciate it, guys. We're going to let you get to it, and you can enjoy your weekends. Thank you so much. Again, we appreciate everything you guys do. It allows us to continue to do stuff like this. We wouldn't be able to do it without you. So thank you again. Enjoy your weekends, and we will catch you guys on next week. Thanks,
Peace.
guys.